So, I was thinking the other day, what's the hardest job in the world? Being a kid. Don't believe me? Stick around because after hearing these stories, you'll be convinced. Today, we're diving into a book that will make you cry, rage, and possibly reevaluate everything you know about survival. But don't worry, this isn't a lecture. Let's lighten it up first, okay? Imagine a 12-year-old negotiating with traffickers, a girl breaking up with her best friend because of, wait for it, religion, and a boy who, well, let's just say his Christmas doesn't go as planned. Welcome to the world of Say You're One of Them by Uwem Akpan, a collection of stories that, trust me, will haunt you in the best way possible. Let's dive into each one, shall we? Story 1. An Xmas feast. Picture this. A family living in a Nairobi slum, so broke they can't afford food, much less Christmas presents. Their saving grace? The eldest daughter. She's, working as a full-time prostitute. Why? To pay for her little brother's education. Sounds like a noble sacrifice, right? Well, here's the twist. The brother doesn't even want to go to school. He runs away because he can't handle the guilt of her choices. Akpan writes, a young girl resorts to full-time prostitution to help her younger brother complete his education, and yet this younger brother flees home. It's heartbreaking, raw, and makes you question the cost of sacrifice. Let's just say, Xmas is not so merry in this household. Story 2. Fattening for Gabon. Now imagine being a kid and finding out your uncle, your trusted guardian, is planning to sell you into slavery. Yep, that's the premise of Fattening for Gabon. Two siblings, Yua and Kochikpa, live in a small Beninese village, blissfully unaware that their uncle is negotiating their sale. And just when he decides he can't go through with it, spoiler alert, it's too late. The deal is already sealed. Akpan doesn't sugarcoat it. He makes you feel the children's confusion, the betrayal, and the sheer hopelessness. Makes you think, doesn't it? How often do we ignore modern-day slavery because it's uncomfortable to talk about? Story 3. What language is that? Okay, let's switch gears. This one starts on a hopeful note. Two best friends, a Christian girl and a Muslim girl, living in harmony in Ethiopia. They're inseparable, calling each other best friend. Cute, right? But then, religious conflict erupts. Suddenly, the Christian girl is told she can't speak to her Muslim friend anymore. Why? She's evil, her parents say. Imagine being a kid and trying to wrap your head around that. Akpan asks, how do you explain to such a girl that by some complex circumstances she shouldn't talk to this best friend again? And honestly, how do you explain it? It's a gut punch wrapped in innocence. And then there's story 4, luxurious hearses. A 16-year-old boy, Jubril, is fleeing religious violence in Nigeria. His mother is Muslim, his father is Christian, and his identity? Let's just say it's complicated. Oh, and did I mention he's hiding the fact that he's from the north while traveling with Southern Christians? Why? Because he knows they'd turn on him if they found out. And then there's the small matter of his hands being cut off for alleged theft. This story is about survival, yes, but it's also about how religion and ethnicity can tear people apart. It's a brutal reminder of how complex identities can become deadly. Finally, we have story 5, In My Parents' Room. Set during the Rwandan genocide, this story is told through the eyes of a little girl who witnesses her Hutu father murder her Tutsi mother. Let that sink in for a second. This isn't just a story about war. It's about betrayal, madness, and the utter collapse of humanity. Akpan asks, does one lose all love when war descends? Honestly, after reading this, I don't know. Do you? And there you have it. Say You're One of Them by Uwem Akpan. 5 stories, 5 emotional roller coasters, each one more unforgettable than the last. This book isn't just a collection of stories, it's a wake-up call. Akpan forces us to see the world through the eyes of children. Innocent, vulnerable, yet incredibly resilient. Sure, I had my issues with it. The way illiterate characters were portrayed in English, not my favorite, and yes, it does fit into the Western narrative of African suffering. But at the same time, these stories are real. These issues do happen. How many people are unaware of the religious troubles in Nigeria, the ethnic conflicts in Ghana, and its almost genocidal consequences in Rwanda? How many are oblivious of the Guinea-Bissau's crisis, or of the Kenyan electoral crisis? So whose fault is it that Africa has come to signify the face of suffering and negativity? Let's not also forget Chimamanda's Dangers of a Single Story, because reading this for the first time, an uneducated stereotypic individual blinded by lack of knowledge and immersed in prejudice would take it as the norm in Africa. And Uwem Akpan? This guy doesn't hold back. He's not afraid to tackle the tough stuff, and for that, I respect him immensely. He reminds us that, as he so powerfully shows, the child is as important today as they are tomorrow. So if you're ready to cry, think, and maybe see the world a little differently, grab a copy of Say You're One of Them. Just keep some tissues nearby. Until next time, take care. And remember, the stories we tell can change the world.